on a straight-up street race.
Yeah.
So that's the next project. What do you think about that?
That's a pretty heavy project.
So Aaron's got his serious hat on, and he's fixing to tell me something, and I'm pretty sure I'm not going to like it.
Aaron Kaufman didn't just walk out of Fast and Loud. He escaped a storm of pressure, shattered dreams, and a garage fight that ended with people getting kicked out over a fan photo. Let us pull back the garage door on a story so intense, so personal, you won't believe who snapped next. The beard that built a legacy and then walked away. One day, out of the blue, he was gone. No warning signs, no goodbye burnout. Just a big empty space where Aaron used to stand. Imagine tuning in expecting to see the beard and the brain behind some of the coolest rides on television and finding out he wasn't there anymore. It felt like biting into a sandwich and realizing they forgot the best part. Total shock. But what if I told you the real reason he left was never shown on camera? He was more than just a cast member. Aaron was the core of the crew. He was the calm in the storm, the steady hands in a wild shop full of roaring engines and wild ideas. His dynamic with Rawlings was a huge part of what made the show a hit. It wasn't just about fast cars. It was about the chemistry between these two totally different but totally perfect gearheads. Their connection seemed solid. On screen, they got along like brothers, always building, joking, making things happen. People loved watching them solve problems, turn junkers into gems, and sometimes just goof around with grease-stained grins. No shouting matches, no public drama, just two people who clearly knew how to work together.
Based on just like watching some stuff, so how the number system 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, is it the degree of corner or is it the speed at which that corner's taken?
That's why his disappearance rattled so many folks. Before Aaron vanished from the garage, two others took off as well, Tom Smith and Jordan Butler. Both were sharp with tools and had their own fan base. They brought a fun spark to the show, and when they left, it raised eyebrows. But their exits didn't set off the same explosion as Aaron's. His absence hit different. He had become part of the show's identity. Tom and Jordan's goodbyes were quieter. Still, fans felt their loss. People had grown attached to these mechanics who felt like long-distance friends. The kind of guys you'd want fixing your car and then sticking around for a drink afterward. When they dipped out, there wasn't much noise. No farewell party, just empty spots on the team. That led to a flood of whispers online. Blogs lit up with questions and theories. Nobody had clear answers. In television, folks often leave shows without spilling the full story. Maybe it's about personal growth. Maybe it's about disagreements behind the scenes. Maybe they just need a break from the constant hustle. But when fans are used to seeing the same faces week after week, these sudden changes are tough to digest.
My vacation from Gas Monkey is going to be a permanent one.
What the fuck, dude? We've been here doing this for 14 years.
The last 5 felt like 20.
That is definitely something I didn't expect.
People build routines around shows. They bond with the characters, even if it's a reality show. Back to Aaron, his departure caused a full-on storm. The kind of shakeup that makes fans argue in comment sections and start petitions online. People were upset, and for good reason. The guy wasn't just building cars, he was building memories. His way of explaining things, his hands-on skills, and that quiet confidence made him a favorite. People started guessing. Was he tired of the cameras? Burned out from the non-stop filming schedule? Did he want more control over what he built? There were no official statements at first, just silence. That silence made things worse. When there's no info, people start making up their own stories.
The things that you want in life, if you see where they're happening, and I do mean physically and metaphorically, put yourself in line for the opportunity to find you and be prepared to take it on.
Eventually, little pieces of the puzzle started falling into place. Interviews hinted at deeper reasons. Aaron is a guy who loves freedom. Freedom to create, freedom to explore, freedom to get greasy without someone telling him what will look best for ratings. Working on a TV show isn't all fun. There's pressure to make things exciting, deadlines, producers breathing down your neck. That kind of stress can crush even the biggest passion. Aaron had big dreams. He didn't want to be boxed in. He wanted to build wild things, try bold designs, and take risks. The structure of the show made that tough. There's only so much you can do when each episode needs to fit a certain mold. Aaron needed space to breathe. When he left, he didn't just take a vacation. He launched his own thing, a new garage, a new show, a new chapter. He wasn't running away. He was running towards something that looked a lot more like his true vision. He started getting deep into custom builds, stuff that didn't always make sense to the masses, but made perfect sense to someone who loves machines with personality. He turned down safe choices and chased unique ones. Big tires, loud pipes, raw designs. His work became more than just functional. It became art. Fans followed. They watched his new adventures, cheered him on, and kept asking questions about his past. Fast and Loud kept moving, but something was missing. New faces showed up. New projects were tackled. But that original spark, that special sauce, just didn't taste the same. Episodes without Aaron felt different. The garage had the same name, but the energy changed. The vibe wasn't quite as electric. It's like when a band keeps playing after the lead guitarist leaves. Still good, but not unforgettable. Aaron, on the other hand, was thriving. He seemed more alive, more excited, more in control. He took risks. He made things others wouldn't dare try. His new projects were bold. Some worked, some didn't. But they were all his. Every weld, every nut and bolt, every drop of sweat. It was all coming from a place of pure love for the craft. He built his own brand. Not just a shop, a whole identity around being authentic, innovative, and fiercely independent.
Is it the degree of corner, or is it the speed at which that corner's taken?
Basically, like if you take an increasing size circle, you take like a corner off that circle, and that's what your number system are. So if you look at it,
He wasn't chasing fame. He was chasing fulfillment. That's something a lot of people dream of, but few actually do. People who watched Fast and Loud from the beginning still talk about the early days. They rewatch old episodes not just for the cars, but for Aaron's way of doing things. That quiet confidence, that focus, that attention to detail. He made it look easy even when it wasn't. He left the show, but what came next was even more surprising. Grease, guts, and the garage he left behind. But it's not just about missing him on screen, it's about respecting the choice he made. Walking away from something huge isn't easy. It takes guts, especially when fans are counting on you and cameras are rolling. But Aaron did it anyway. He stepped into the unknown because it felt right. The show goes on without him. Fast and Loud still brings in car lovers and fans of high-octane builds. But for many, it's just not the same. That original energy, that mix of calm focus and wild creativity, left when Aaron did. His journey didn't end with Fast and Loud. It only got louder. His new projects keep evolving. He's not afraid to fail, not afraid to try, not afraid to be different. That's the kind of legacy that sticks. Will he ever return to the show? Nobody knows. Maybe he will. Maybe he won't. But his mark is permanent. He helped shape what the show was at its best. His impact is in every rerun, every fan memory, every kid who picks up a wrench because they saw him do it on screen. Hold on to your seat, because what Aaron Kaufman went through after leaving Fast and Loud is wild in all the ways you wouldn't expect. If anyone believed he simply took a breather and faded into the background, they were way off. His story has layers like an engine built from scratch, with a twist in every part. There are curves, bumps, and turns that would make even the smoothest rides shake. From the start, Aaron wasn't just another face in the shop. He had the brain of a mechanic and the heart of an artist. When he looked at a car, he didn't just see parts and paint. He saw possibility. Every build was like a puzzle, and he had the perfect tools in his mind to put it together. The way he worked, it was like watching someone sketch something from a dream. Except this dream had wheels, horsepower, and roared like thunder. Life inside the Gas Monkey garage might have looked like a never-ending party to the folks watching on TV. Cameras showed laughs, beer, high fives, and loud engines. But beneath all that noise was something that not many saw. Rules, deadlines, pressure. It wasn't a garage where creativity ran wild. It was more like a factory where the schedule ruled everything. Every project had a time crunch, a checklist, and a producer watching like a hawk. Aaron, being who he was, didn't fit into that box forever. At first, he played along. He tightened bolts, welded frames, and smiled for the camera. But over time, something started to itch under his skin. That itch grew louder every time he wanted to try something new and was told it didn't fit the plan. He wanted to break molds, not stick to them. Every car was a canvas to him, but all he could paint were safe choices. The moment that pushed him over wasn't some dramatic blow-up. It was more like a long buildup of frustration. Imagine being surrounded by people who love speed, but none of them want to take the back roads. Just straight lines, day after day.
I won't be your competition. And it worked out. And so I went to work for the what was momentarily the Hack Shack and ultimately ended up being Drop Zone for quite a few years.
Aaron wanted more than just drag races. He wanted curves, bumps, stories, and risks. One of the builds became the tipping point. The team was racing against the clock, and tensions were boiling like a radiator in the desert. Parts weren't arriving on time. The vision was getting watered down, and the end product felt like a shadow of what it could have been. Aaron looked around, looked at the car, then looked at his hands covered in grease. And right there, he knew he couldn't keep doing this. He gathered his tools, didn't wait for applause, and stepped out. No big speech, no pointing fingers, just a quiet goodbye with oil on his shirt and a storm in his chest. The garage felt different after that. Fans noticed. They started asking where the bearded wizard had gone. He was more than just a mechanic to the audience. He was the heartbeat. Without him, things felt colder, more polished, less real. Richard Rawlings was left with an empty chair and a lot of questions. They had been through so much together. Road trips, impossible deadlines, legendary builds. It felt like losing a limb. He didn't waste time. Starting his own shop wasn't just a dream. It was a mission. A shop where ideas flowed like gasoline and nobody stopped at the red lights of convention. He brought together a team that understood that real craftsmanship doesn't come with shortcuts. They built cars that didn't just move, they told stories. Each vehicle became a reflection of what Aaron believed in: uniqueness, purpose, freedom. Whether it was a rugged off-roader or a sleek street beast, you could see his fingerprint in every curve, every corner, every inch. The shop was more than a workspace. It was a rebellion with wrenches. Away from the spotlight of television sets and scripted tension, Aaron found a groove that felt right. Of course, it wasn't all smooth roads. Running a business means handling budgets, chasing parts, and sometimes making tough calls. But even the hard parts felt better because they were on his terms. While Aaron was starting fresh, something unexpected happened back at the old garage. Aaron's bold exit. Let's take a side road for a moment to explore another story that helps paint the picture. Back at Gas Monkey Garage, while Aaron was paving his new lane, something happened that had folks whispering in every corner of the car world. There was this one time a visitor came by. The guy had a lung issue and just wanted to take in the sights. He looked around, admired the builds, then asked for a photo next to Richard's prized Rolls Royce. Tom, one of the team members, didn't see any harm. A photo seemed harmless. The man didn't touch the car, just stood next to it with a smile. Click, done. But when Richard found out, he went full storm mode, yelling, stomping, furious. Tom was stunned. He thought they were there to make fans happy. That's what they were told, wasn't it? To make people love the brand, the builds, the experience. But Richard saw it differently. That car wasn't just another machine. It was his treasure. And in his eyes, someone had crossed a line. Tom pushed back. Not with fists, but with words. He stood up for what he thought was right. Jordan, another team member, backed him up. That support didn't help their case. Richard didn't want a debate. He wanted obedience. By the end of the day, both Tom and Jordan were out the door. They didn't sit around licking wounds. They launched something called Misfit Garage. The name wasn't just catchy, it was a badge. A way to say, we might not follow your rules, but we're going to build anyway. They teamed up with others who had stories like theirs. Builders with talent and grit who just needed a place to shine. Meanwhile, someone watched it all from the window of a brand new shop. They understood. The feeling of being out of place wasn't unfamiliar. But instead of forcing a fit, they built something where no one had to. No suits in charge, no deadlines made for drama. Just people who loved to build. The machines rolling out of that garage didn't always follow the rule book. Some were fierce, some were flat out weird. But none of them were forgettable. They proved you didn't need cameras to create something iconic. just a vision, some tools, and the courage to chase it.
So I don't do these, so I hope it turns out well. But we are talking about an exotic, and that's Damon's F12. And so I think the last time y'all saw it, we were preparing to build headers. And this is a complicated car for a lot of reasons. We'll talk about a few of them.
The work started getting noticed, not by producers, but by real gearheads, the kind who care more about torque than trends. They saw something worth following, and they did. Not for the flash, but for the fire. Over time, this builder became more than just a guy behind the scenes. He became a signpost for anyone stuck in a cubicle, dreaming of wind in their hair, for every creative soul trapped in red tape, hungry to make something true. He proved walking away wasn't quitting. Sometimes it was the only path forward. Back at Gas Monkey, the engine never stopped turning. New faces showed up. The builds kept coming. But there was always that one quiet space, the place he used to stand. You couldn't fill it with a checklist or a wrench. It had been more than that. It had been a heartbeat. They tried to keep the rhythm alive, but the kind of magic he sparked, you don't plan for that. You feel it. In the steel, in the speed, in the silence between revs. That spirit was still out there somewhere, racing down back roads, impossible to catch. Aaron never looked for the spotlight, but it followed him anyway. Not because he chased fame, but because he chased honesty. He built not for applause, but for the thrill of creation. Every project, every machine, every challenge became a part of his journey. Looking back, his exit from Fast and Loud wasn't the end of a story. It was the start of something massive. A movement, a reminder that even in a world filled with rules and restrictions, there's always room to make your own path. He didn't need permission, he just needed vision. He kicked things off working in a small garage in Dallas. It wasn't much. The place was cramped, tools were always missing, and the jobs were basic. Oil changes, brake fixes, simple stuff. Nothing that made the heart race.
My success rate was reasonably high. I mean, everything worked, and we were understanding the concepts, or starting to. Basically, there was an air ride shop in town.
Aaron knew he had the skill to do more, to build better, but there wasn't space or support to grow. He felt like a race car stuck in traffic. He wanted more. He dreamed of custom builds, the kind that took months to finish. Cars that were one of a kind, machines that told a story. But on the show, there wasn't time for that. It felt like being told to paint a masterpiece with crayons. No matter how hard he tried to add depth, the deadline was always creeping up. Aaron stuck with it. He wasn't ready to give up something he helped build. He had respect for Richard, who gave him a shot when others didn't. But the weight of working on things that didn't spark joy started to wear him down. He thought about the kid version of himself, the one who used to dream big. That kid would be disappointed. It reached a point where he started speaking up. He told the team he wanted to take on different projects. He shared his ideas, hoping others would see his vision. But it became clear they were not on the same page. While he wanted to build wild, custom rides, the team wanted quick flips and fast turnarounds. He felt like a square peg in a round hole. That's when the decision started forming in his mind. He needed to leave. But leaving wasn't easy. There were fans who supported him, friends he worked with, and a reputation he built. He didn't want to walk away in anger. He wanted to exit with respect. So he made a plan, quietly, carefully. He started figuring out how to step out without burning bridges. When he finally announced his exit, it hit hard. The viewers were shocked. Aaron was part of the show's heartbeat. Without him, something felt missing. People started wondering who could possibly take his place. As time went by, the answer became clear. Nobody really could. Was Aaron right to leave at the peak of his fame? Or was it a mistake he'll regret? Tell us what you think in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe.